Did Donald Trump really save America? My interview with somebody who wrote a book on it. Coming up next. Welcome to the show. I'm Van Daniel. If you want to talk about controversial topics and what's really going on, you're in the right place. Also, if you like what you hear, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and share, and also follow us on social media. The links are below. Very exciting show today. I have the author of The Intolerant Tolerant Party, Jarrad Shelton, to talk about his new book, 2016 How Donald Trump Saved America, which is in stores now. I'll put a link in the description so you can go ahead and pick that up. Then later, my rant of the week on the shit I've seen in Walmart lately. Okay, I'd like to welcome Jarrad Shelton to the show. Hey, man, first I want to say welcome and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, so really I want to start this interview off. So I'm always interested on why people do the things that they do. So really my first question to you is what compelled you to write books?
Well, I've always enjoyed writing, and I'm very active on social media. And so one day I had someone send me a message and said, I really love everything you post on Facebook, and you keep me informed as to where the news, and they said, you are who I get my news through. And I thought, wow, what a burden you put on me. But it was okay because I love sharing. I'm very opinionated. I love sharing my opinions on Facebook. And so then a few days, time goes by, and this other gentleman, he sent me a message, said, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I said, well, no, never really thought about it. And he said, your posts are so fascinating. I think that, you should really think about writing a book. And so I thought, well, I do enjoy writing and I enjoy voicing my opinion, so why not make a book out of it? And so, I like to write political books because that's what I dabble in is politics.
That's what you're passionate about. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I envy authors because I'll tell you, man, one thing I struggled with in college was writing. Just that's why I bailed on my master's degree actually, because I couldn't write papers anymore, man. But I guess if you're passionate about it, like you are, it's the words probably come pretty easily.
Yeah, and that's the thing because like when I was in school, if the subject was something I didn't care about, I just breezed over it, and you could tell I just slopped things together.
Yeah.
But I am passionate about politics because it affects our daily lives. It matters. Politics matters. If you think it's boring, it's not. It matters. It affects how much taxes you pay. It affects the lifestyle you get to live. So it matters. And so, that is my passion. And so I just decided to write books about what I believe in.
Well, you're absolutely correct, man. The funny part is I'm more political now than I've ever been, obviously, and I'm much older than the generations now that are very political very early on in their life, which is a good thing, but which I think also can be a bad thing because I believe that in our youth we are more open to. So what I think is when you don't make any money, you're all about free money and free stuff. So,
Sure.
so when you're young, I feel like you're very democratic.
Yes.
Right. And then as you grow older and you accumulate wealth and things and your lifestyle changes, you become very Republican.
Absolutely. I had this conversation with my daughter. She's 16 years old, and she knows that I'm very opinionated. And so I ask her often, would you say yourself as a Republican or as a Democrat? She said, "Oh, I don't know. I don't even care about that. I'm neither. I don't care about none of that. I'm not old enough to vote, so I don't care about that." So I asked her. I said, "Well, do you think a capitalist society is better, or a socialist society would be better?" And she said, I don't know what either one of them is. And so I said, okay, well, let's think about it like in school. I said, you work really hard. You studied really hard and you got an A on your test. I said, your neighbor does not study very hard and gets a F on his test. I said, in a capitalist society, your teacher gives you the A you deserve and gives your neighbor the F he deserves. I said, but in a socialist society, I said, because you made an A and you worked hard and made an A, but the other person didn't work hard and made an F, it's not fair for him to have the F and you to have the A. So now we're going to meet in the middle and both of you are going to have a C. She said, well, I study for my test and I made the A. I said, exactly. I said, that's how it is in a capitalist society. I said, and that is what we Republicans stand for. Conservatives want a capitalist society because you get what you deserve. You get what you work for, not what you are entitled to, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with that. And that's a good explanation. I have an 18-year-old daughter, and the good thing about that is everybody in her life is Republican. So my ex-father-in-law is a doctor, so it has been he's a Vietnam vet and been a doctor for 40, 50 years or something like that. He's very Second Amendment, gun-toting Republican. So all the influences in her life are conservative, so she's tends to lean that way. But what I tell people too, the argument always about socialism and all those things, I tell people like socialism briefs well. Like the idea of socialism is awesome in a utopia. However, we don't live in a utopia.
Right. Socialism only works on paper.
Yes, absolutely.
It doesn't work in theory because when you start saying, well, we're going to split everybody's wealth. Well, what do the wealthy people do? They say, hell no, this is my money. So you know what? I can afford to move to this island in the Bahamas, or I can afford to move to, Japan, or I can afford to move to France or wherever. I can afford it. But you peasants, you can't afford it. You can't just pack up everything you have and leave because you're tied to your job there. That job makes sure that you have money.
Absolutely.
So you can't up and leave your job. That job is holding you there. So you can split your money with the people who don't work. But I'm not splitting my money with the people who don't work. So the people who are at the top who are funding the socialist state are going to leave. And there won't be these billionaires that Bernie Sanders rants and raves about.
No, absolutely. So I tell people that as well. So it's funny is everybody talks about the one percenters. Oh, the one percenters, we need to tax the one percenters and all that stuff. Well, I ask people, well, have you ever gotten a job from a poor person?
That's a very good argument.
And they say, no. I'm like, okay. Where do you think these jobs come from? They come from the wealthy. The wealthy hire you. So you have your income. If you tax the bejesus out of all the wealthy people and they leave, you're left with a bunch of poor people paying for everybody else.
Sure.
And now you're poorer because somebody else doesn't want to work. So calm down. It's okay. By percentage, they may be taxed less, but by dollar amount, they get taxed more. And I think that's the thing that people get hung up on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. I don't care what other people are taxed. I care what I'm taxed. I'm not hung up on what another class of people or this gentleman over here, that lady over there is taxed. I care what I'm taxed. I want my taxes lowered. If somebody said, well, I will lower your taxes by 5%, and you're going to pay instead of $5,000 a year, you're going to pay say $4,500 a year.
Yeah.
So I'm saving $500 a month. But they're going to say that millionaire that was paying, $100,000 a month, $100,000 a year in taxes, now he's going to pay $90,000. Okay, he's paying $10,000 less than me. But what do I care? I'm still saving $500. Why do I worry about that person?
Exactly. I completely agree with you. And on top of that too, so I had an idea on the tax subject tonight, and we'll get off of it. I had I actually, I think it was, I don't want to take full credit for it. I heard it from, golly, I can't remember his name. Either way, somebody else gets credit for it, not my complete idea. But, I think we should stop taxing income and put a flat rate on goods.
You know what, brother? You and I are on the same page with that. I am 100% on board for call it a national sales tax, whatever you want to identify it as. I don't care. But taxing income is theft.
Yes.
Nobody should have to pay a tax in order to work, which is what you essentially do. You're paying a tax to work. And it totally goes against everything that America was founded on, hard work. Mm-hmm. So, if I can work an extra 10-hour week in overtime, why would I want to do that when I'm going to get taxed more?
We're going to take more, yeah.
Say I make $1,000 a week working 40 hours a week. So I can go work 45 hours a week and make $1,100. So I'm going to work 5 extra hours for $100? Well, that makes no.
That's exactly it. I mean, and that's why I think a flat tax is the way we need to go. And the bigger reason on that is, so we have a lot of illegal immigrants. I don't even know the true number. Maybe you do. However, no. Right now, they're taxing only the people that work. If you have a flat goods tax, you accomplish two things. Rich people or people that have more money, buy more stuff, will pay more taxes. 2, when you do that, everybody pays taxes, even illegal immigrants.
And, the Democrats, they're hung up on, it's got to be a progressive tax. In other words, the people at the top have got to pay more. Well, with the tax that you and I are speaking of, they are, because who's going out and buying the super yachts for $25 million? Not average Joes, the multimillionaires. So you charge them a 10% tax on that $25 million yacht. What have you got? You've got a lot of money coming in. More taxes than I'm probably going to pay in a year buying all my goods.
Yep.
They done it in one fell swoop buying that $25 million yacht. And so, plus people would spend more money because you would get more every week when you got your paycheck. Instead of getting, your part and the government getting their part, you would get your full part and you would go spend more money.
Of course.
The economy stimulated even further under that tax.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with that because, like I said, especially if I gave you $500 more a month, mentally, you're not going to say, you may say, I'm going to put that into a savings account.
Right.
But when that money comes in, you start buying stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's human nature to live outside of our means, mostly. But let's move on. Let's move on to your book. So your first book came out in 2017, The Intolerant Tolerant Party.
Yes, sir.
Right. The title speaks for itself. You're talking about the Democratic Party and how they're supposed to be the tolerant party, and yet they're the most intolerant, it seems like. But your new book that's in stores now, I already told everybody it's linked in the description. Go ahead and get on there and purchase you a copy and support this man. 2016, How Trump Saved America.
Yes, sir. 2016, How Donald Trump Saved America.
Excuse me, How Donald Trump Saved America. My bad.
No problem.
So my first question on that is, or I guess my first statement is, so to be 100% honest with you, I didn't jump on the Trump train early. I actually waited. I didn't pick a candidate until the Democrats chose their primary, and then the Republicans chose theirs, and then I went, with Trump over Hillary because Hillary's Clinton, and they're crooked and corrupt and all those other things that we could talk about for 3 days probably together. When did you come on board the Trump train?
So I discussed this early on in my book, and to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't think that Donald Trump was going to be in it for the long haul. And I'm open about that in my book. Um, Donald Trump had toyed with the idea of running for president before. And so I felt like after a month or so, he would be out of there. And, I was going to be a Ted Cruz guy. I like what Ted Cruz stood for. He was a constitutional conservative, which is myself. And Ted Cruz just wasn't going to take any BS from anybody. I like that about Ted Cruz. And so I felt like Ted Cruz was going to be my horse. But once Donald Trump was sincere, and I could see he was sincere, I was ready for the Trump train because I liked what he was saying. I knew he had the passion. I knew that he was going to do what he said he was going to do. I've been watching Donald Trump through The Apprentice and just through his public life all my adult life, and Donald Trump is about one thing, and that is solving problems, and he wants to get things done. Donald Trump was not going to go to Washington and say, run on one thing and then change his mind when he got there, as so many people before him have. Donald Trump set a bar, and it was being the greatest president America has ever seen. That is his bar. If he leaves Washington in 4 more years, and he doesn't consider himself the greatest president ever, and is thought of as the greatest president by a large amount of Americans, then he will not necessarily think of it as a failure, but he will see it as not as successful as he wanted to be. And so Donald Trump knew the only way he could ever be considered the greatest president America has ever had was he had to fulfill his promises. He could not run on building a wall and then get to Washington and talk about, well, we may not need a wall. We may just need to tighten regulations. He couldn't run on, well, let's lower the tax rate for the American people and then get up there and say, well, the tax rate's okay as it is. We just need to tax the millionaires a little bit more, raise a little bit more money. He had to fulfill his promises in order to be thought of as the greatest president in America. I'm not saying that I'm on that level just yet, but I can see it in 4 more years if he continues doing things and America is turned around the way that I believe it will be. But, I look it up through social media and I see a lot of people now who, in their mind, he is the greatest president. So he is accomplishing that in a lot of people's minds, and rightfully so.
I'll tell you, man, 2 things. In my lifetime, I'm almost 40. I'll be 39 this month, actually. So in my lifetime, in my adult life, I've been through, he's my 4th president because I have Clinton for 2 terms, Bush for 2 terms, Obama for 2 terms, and now President Trump, hopefully for 2 terms. Not that I'm, rooting for that at all. But I'll tell you, he's the first president in my adult life that has actually done the things that he campaigned he was going to do.
Yes.
Of those promises you were talking about, that he's fulfilling those promises. Now, every president has some pushback from the other parties, and they want to stop, especially in their last year before that reelection, because they want to slow down their progression and their momentum moving into the election year, because obviously they want their party to do that. So he's getting some pushback right now, but he's had negative, we agree on this, he's had negative press from the beginning.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he, from the day he went down the golden elevator there at Trump Tower, he was just lambasted very early on as a racist, and and the calls even now are still he's racist. And one thing that really boggles my mind is when they say this, they don't really point to examples. They don't say, well, he's racist because of this. They just say it, leave it there, and if you disagree, you're a racist too.
Yep. It said somebody, I've seen all the pictures on social media and all over everywhere that's pro-Trump. He didn't become a racist till he ran for president.
Sure. That's true. He was very very well liked by celebrities and by a lot of the people who liked him before, I'd say before 2008, because he attacked, with him attacking Obama the way he did, kind of turned a lot of people against him. But prior to 2008, he was well liked by just about everybody, and the media, they like to bash him, but it wasn't because he was racist. It was because of his hair and because of his ex-wives, and that was what they attacked him for them. But it never had to do with his race, or he hated any one gender or class or what.
Absolutely not. But that's not going to stop. I mean, all right, Jarrad, the next thing I wanted to talk about, in your book, you reference the Rust Belt states being of high importance, and being a man from Michigan, born and raised, you caught my attention with that subject. So explain to the listeners what you mean by what you reference in your book as far as the Rust Belt states.
Well, the Rust Belt states, it stretches from Pennsylvania throughout, headed west to Wisconsin, dipping into Iowa, Michigan, of course, probably the most famous Rust Belt state, Michigan, Ohio. Basically, the Rust Belt state is where most of our manufacturing traditionally was done. Leading up before China took over most of the manufacturing, and not only China, but Mexico and even some Canada, even some took over some of the manufacturing. But primarily in Mexico and China has just obliterated those states, the Michigans, the Wisconsins, the Pennsylvanias, the Ohio's they've just been totally demolished thanks to weak trade deals that our previous administrations have made, and the thirst for wanting to bring China into everything has sent these companies overseas, and these states have been suffering for many years as a result of it. And so the Rust Belt states they are traditionally Democratic states like Michigan. They voted for, last time they voted for a Republican in the presidential election was 1988. So you can see, going back a long time, Michigan has been blue traditionally in the presidential election. Now, Pennsylvania, the same thing. Last time they voted for a Republican president was George W. Bush in 1992. So, these states are not favorable to the Republican Party, as you can see. Now, states like Ohio and Florida, they are the quote-unquote swing states, for which a president has to win, a Republican has to win those swing states if he wants to win. So, Donald Trump has restored those Rust Belt states, the states like Pennsylvania. The wealth has been brought back. Manufacturing has been brought back. And Pennsylvania, which nobody ever dreamed would go for Donald Trump in 2016, did go for Donald Trump because they wanted to give him a chance, because they've been beat to death by all these other weak and ineffective leaders.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with all that. I mean, being from Michigan, my entire family's from Michigan, and 99% of my family still lives in Michigan, and have felt the effects of that economy, especially since the auto industry left. Now, I have a sense that, so I have two theories, and I want to ask you what you think. Do you think the auto industry went to China and to Mexico and all those things because of the taxes that the government was imposing on them, on these large companies? Or do you think they went there because American people in unions were milking them dry with high wages to, say, work 12 hours and push a button for 12 hours?
So you're right. Was a little bit of both. You know, these companies, when they were getting hit, both from both sides, they had to do something to help their bottom line. So when they're getting, when their unions are forcing the wages to be raised and healthcare to be better and more costly, and then you turn around and you got to pay more taxes, you don't get a break on either side. So they had to decide to do one thing or another. They couldn't forego their taxes, stay in America and forego their taxes. They couldn't stay in America and forego the wages of their employees because they were unionized state. Union wages had to pay union wages. So they did the only thing else they knew to do, which was leave America. So, the tax rate prior to Donald Trump signing the new tax bill was 35% corporate tax rate. So that number has been dropped to 21%, which is pretty much on line with all the rest of the countries, China, Russia, pretty much all the major industrial countries. That's pretty much on line. Some of them's a little bit lower, 18%, 16%, 23%, some a little bit higher, but most of them on average is about 21%. So that has put companies on pretty much a level playing field as, say, for a company to go to China or go to Mexico. So those companies can come back and they can pay a lesser rate than they were paying before, and they can afford to pay their employees more wages, and then they won't be getting hit from both sides, so to speak.
No, absolutely. I mean, I referenced the wage issue, the $15 minimum wage argument. I referenced that in my very first video on how that's a bad idea and it would absolutely kill small businesses. And I brought a small business owner on and talked about it. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it goes both ways, though. When you're killing industry and taxes and then they're getting killed on wages, something's got to give. And that dam breaks, and they're like, all right, listen, I can't get away from taxes, but I can damn sure get away from these wages by cheap labor in other countries.
Yeah. And so, companies are in business to make money. That's what they're there for. They're not there for any other reason except for make money. Now, along the way, they do good things. They give them people jobs. They pay people fair wages. So if a company can't make a profit, they either have to go out of business or try to figure out a way to cut wages or cut taxes to make that profit. So they decided the best route is to go to China, I'm sure most of your listeners know, but a lot of people don't realize what China does. China workers, they're not just better workers. They don't necessarily work harder than us. They don't work longer hours, let's say. They are forced to do that by their government. So, yeah, a company like, Walmart or, a manufacturer who makes a microwave, for example, that company who makes the microwave can pay $100,000 to the government of China to get a nice little contract with one of these manufacturing plants there. And then the government says, well, you factory owner of China, you're going to force your employees to work 12-hour days for a few dollars a day. And so they have no choice but to work. So now we can spit out these cheap products to keep people coming back here, and the government can make more money.
Absolutely. I mean, it's exactly in the communist playbook.
Exactly.
Exploit the population for the betterment of a few, or one in the communist regime. And I 100% agree with you. It's a mixture of both, and again, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, what are companies for? They're to make money. The bottom line is, if we can't profit, we can't pay you. And that's exactly what that tax relief for businesses did. and they rewarded their employees with huge bonuses as soon as that bill got passed, which only goes back to, President Donald Trump's promise of lowering taxes and raising wages, right, and bringing jobs back.
Absolutely. And so, I devote, an entire chapter in my book to this exact thing. The economy, when the jobs and tax cut bill come in 2017, when he signed it into law, then people were making more because we're paying less in taxes, and then every year on their income tax, they were getting back more money because the child tax credit went up. And so everywhere people were getting more money back, but the Democrats opposed it. Now think about that. The Democrats opposed you keeping more of your money. Now, why would people want to go out and vote for Democrats when they say, we don't trust you with your money? That's the Democratic playbook, is give us more of your money because you don't know how to handle your money. That is their whole idea. And so that is why I believe that Democrats are scared to death, because they know people are turning away from them because their ideals are old and outdated, and people do not want to cede all their power to the government and just say, well, take all the tax money you want. As long as you take care of me, I'm good. We in Americans, we want to work for ourselves. We want to reward ourselves with our hard work. Leave me alone. Don't tax me to death, but provide roads for me, provide a police force for me, make sure the military is strong so that another country can't come here and attack us. Outside of that, leave us alone.
Absolutely. I was listening to your to one of your interviews, and you referenced Donald Trump and why he's been successful in, and it's not a direct quote from you, but it's exactly what you said, is he never folded. He came in, he said, this is what I'm going to do. And then he came into office and he did those things through unbelievable criticism the whole time. And they attacked him and attacked him and attacked him. And he stuck by his guns. And I think that's what's drawn me to him, is he's doing what he said he was going to do. And he pulls no punches about it. And he goes back at the media and he doesn't take nothing from nobody. And I absolutely love that about him.
Sure. And so that's the thing, he knows every day that he's going to get attacked for whatever he decides, if he come out tomorrow and said, that we found a cure for cancer. There's a drug that we believe that all these doctors are believing is cure for cancer. You would see the media say, well, we don't want that drug. We want that drug thrown out because we don't want Donald Trump to be associated with curing cancer. And so that's the mindset of the media. So Donald Trump knows that he's going to be attacked every day, and he doesn't fold. He doesn't waver. He sticks to exactly what he believes, even though he knows he's going to be attacked. And, the people would not like him as much if he said, guys, this is getting really tough. They're beating me down. I'm not going to be as tough as I said I'm going to be. I'm going to be a little bit weaker, so they're not as harsh on me. But I'm still a good guy. No, people like him because he says, I don't give a shit. I say what I want. And if I tell y'all, if I say I want to build a wall, then I'm going to build a wall. I don't care what the Democrats say. I'm still going to want my wall.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, that's exactly what has drawn me to him. And, Jarrad, I just want to say once again, I'm going to close this out. I really appreciate you coming on my show. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're a very knowledgeable person. I cannot wait to get my book in the mail, because if you haven't went out and bought his book yet, you need to click on the link below and make sure that you do that. And before you go, Jarrad, man, I really want to give you an opportunity to give a plug for your book, and give everybody outside of this interview, if they just watch this, just kind of tell us why we should go buy your book.
So you should go buy my book because my book lays out exactly why we will never see another Democrat in the White House. It is my belief that thanks to Donald Trump and being an effective leader, he will destroy the Democratic Party so much that they will never have any power other than a few congressional seats here and there, and maybe a senator seat, and maybe a Democrat in a blue state. And I believe that will be so. And my book lays out exactly why why this will be the true case. And so you can go and purchase it at lulu.com. That's LULU.com. Or you can go to the direct link on his page. Also, I want to tell everyone, I believe that cancer is a problem in the world, and 20% of all my sales goes to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. I believe that childhood cancer is something no parent should ever deal with. I believe that cancer could be something of the past in my lifetime. I believe that a cure is close. I believe that we can end this tragedy in my lifetime. 20% of all my sales goes to St. Jude. It's something I'm passionate about. So help me raise money for them.
Man, that's awesome. Absolutely. I don't know anybody who hasn't been affected by cancer in their life, and that's awesome. That's awesome that you're doing that, man. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show. I want to bring you back as my conservative expert later on. I know I'm going to want to bring you back. Trump 2020 when he gets reelected, and I want to talk to you about that later on. So again, man, thank you so much for coming on my show. You've been awesome, man. You're a patriot, and I appreciate you.
Hey, thank you for having me.
All right, my rant of the week this week is on Walmart and what's going on in society right now. So I just came out of Walmart, and the things that I'm seeing concern me because it's just absolutely ridiculous. People are wearing gloves, masks, all these things, right? But while I was in there, which is fine, if you want to feel protected, be protected. But I'm here to tell you that germ transfer happens regardless. So even if you have gloves on, right? You have gloves on, you touch a surface, you get the germs on your gloves, then you pick your cell phone up, and then you dabble on your cell phone, right? And then you put your cell phone back in your pocket, and then you do, and then you pick your cell phone up, and then you do, and then you get out to your car like, oh, cool, that's done. You take your gloves off, and then you pick your cell phone up, and you start messing with it. Guess what? Corona. You got it. Same thing with the mask. You have this mask on, right? Which is great. Prevents you from touching your face and all those things. But the same thing happens. People have this mask on. They're not wearing gloves, or they're wearing gloves. And they take their mask off, and then they put their phone to their face with their gloves on and their mask off. Well, guess what? Now you have germs on your cheek. You have germs in your mouth. You got germs everywhere. And they're just everywhere. You not only look ridiculous, you are doing absolutely nothing to protect yourself. If you want to protect yourself, stay home. If you want to go out, if you have to go out in public, use the services that are provided like local pickup and things like that if you're so paranoid. I got a friend who won't go to Walmart. They do the online order and come pick up their groceries and things that they ordered online, because they don't want to get out in public. And I don't blame them. If they have a baby at home, I don't want them at risk. I don't want a child at risk. I don't want old people at risk. Do that, because that is safer and that is doing what you need to do. And if he has to wait 3-4 days sometimes to get their groceries. So it takes some planning, and it's a pain in the ass. I get it. But you're not helping yourself by covering yourself with fabric and all those things. Like it just, if you don't understand or you don't know, Google how germ transfer happens so you can educate yourself to know that putting all this protective equipment on or this protective stuff doesn't stop you or won't stop you from getting it if you don't do the other things that are associated with protecting yourself. All right, that's what I got for today. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button below. And I'm out.
Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is only made possible by you, the listener, so thank you for your support.